Hey guys, and welcome to the second video for the Chronicles of Ellyria Tribe series. This episode we are focusing on the Waerd. Joining me for today's episode is Ariff Khalma. He is the familiar of Akatash, or otherwise known as the Duke of Akatash down in Lovaskara. Hi Ariff!
Hey Mishka, how you doing?
Oh, you know, not too bad. Yourself?
Doing good, doing good.
Fantastic. So we're going to be talking about the Waerd. I like to pose this question, even though this is only the second episode, but I like to pose the question, what kind of fantasy class do you really associate with the Waerd? Have you thought about that before?
I have, and it's one that I almost felt they don't properly match any of the fantasy classes.
Yep, I came to the same conclusion.
It's been one of the hardest things with getting people into the Waerd is that they're just so different from what we're used to with games and stuff in general.
I sort of figured that they're kind of desert humans, but not.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible explanation. I'm using the Oceanus Map as my main guide. So if we look at the Oceanus Map, you'll find the Waerd in for the main part, in two of the kingdoms. You'll find them down in Lovaskara, which is, of course, where you are.
Yep.
So you'll find them in the semi-arid desert of Akatash and also Broadfall Rock. And
that's correct.
Yeah. You'll also find them up in Tilsia in the shrublands. So that's Killajan, and at the moment it's called Travers Valley, though that is going to change in the future. Do you prefer the semi-arid Waerd or the shrubland Waerd? What's your preference?
Well, Waerd are Waerd, no matter where they are, as long as they're purebred.
Uh-huh.
Personally, I prefer the desert.
Why is that?
Because one of the things that drew me to it originally, aside from the Waerd culture, is the semi-arid desert is very much like the outback of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
The actual terrain it actually looks like where I grew up, my homeland. So that's what kind of drew me to the desert more than the shrublands originally, of the two.
Did anything change your mind further along the track as you learnt more? Another
Not
reason
really.
why you preferred it?
I also kind of like the challenge of it as well. There is it's a joke. We like all our Waerd brothers and sisters, but we do joke that the shrublands is Waerd easy mode. Because they have water everywhere.
And greenery.
Yes, and they don't have to deal with the extreme temperature changes that you get in the desert. It goes from scorching hot in the day to freezing cold at night.
I've never heard it described as that. It's easy Waerd light. But that is perfect. You are essentially taking the harder of the two locations. But I mean, that's why you play it, isn't it? You don't want to just coast through it.
And we say it jokingly because we know that it's not going to be like easy level for them, really.
No.
It's just a different style, and I'm more drawn to the desert style, I think, than all the greenery. Me personally, I like full greenery, like forests or no forests. I'm not a big fan of the in-between. I
completely agree, because I'm kicking myself that I didn't actually get like another alt to put in the semi-arid desert, because I think it's going to be awesome down there. But yeah, definitely full forest for me. So I get where you're coming from. Okay, so let's just get into some physical stats in regards to the Waerd. So do you want to give us a rundown of what they look like?
Sure. The Waerd themselves they're slightly taller than the Nirans of the baseline that we use. They're a little taller, a little bit leaner, but also kind of physically stronger. And due to their exposure to the sun, they have darkened skin, and their hair is shades of brown, like dark brown through to light brown, essentially. Physically, though, they're the most homogeneous tribe you can find in the game. It's actually meant to be quite difficult to even tell apart the men and the women when seeing them.
Which is a bit confronting from a character creation standpoint, but...
Yes. A bit of the lore as to why it's like that. Officially, if the line of succession becomes blurred, you don't know who is next to assume a title. The person who takes over is whoever looked most like the last person in charge. So,
I love that. I love it.
that's one of the lore reasons behind it, but also it symbolizes their homogeny as a tribe. Everything about the Waerd is for the Waerd. And the more like the collective you look, the less unique you are, the more dedicated you are to the tribe.
It's hilarious. Yes. I find it funny, but I completely understand the ideology behind it. And it's a unique way to pick your leader. It's like, hey, you look like Bob. You can be the leader.
So that only comes in if, say, the current ruler dies with no heir.
Correct.
There's no one in line to take it.
Yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, if it's a player character that is the titled character, you would make sure that you get an heir specified. But yes, that's...
Very much so.
Yeah. Just some more technical stuff. The language that they speak, is it pronounced Ishek? Ishek? Ishek?
Yes, colloquially also referred to as the desert language.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of cool. I mean, it's true enough. Did you know what letters are actually omitted from that language?
To be honest, I don't.
Fantastic! I can teach you something instead of the other way around.
Yes.
So the alphabet is essentially, it's English, but it doesn't have any F's, P's, Q's, or X's.
Right, because I know the Dras also have no Fs.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're similar in a way with their religion
Yeah.
and stuff, but Q's and X's I can understand because no one uses those. But F's and P's, it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to hear. If we hear it, or read. We'll see it, we won't hear it, yes, because there's no voice acting in this game.
Yep.
That I know of. They do also speak Naren, of course, because that's sort of the communal merchanty language.
And they are the only other tribe to enter the semi-arid desert. I'm not sure if you noticed on the map, but there are only
didn't.
2 tribes that... Yes, it is only the Waerd and the Niren in the deserts.
Ah, interesting.
You do have Kipik in the shrublands as well.
Yes, but not in the desert. Kipik would die in the desert.
The Waerd are in nearly every duchy on the server, but the actual Waerd home duchy of the desert only has Waerd and a tiny portion of Niren.
That does make sense, because I can't see anybody else surviving in those temperatures.
And by a tiny portion, we've got 7% Niren in mine and 9% in Broadfall Rock.
Yeah, that is tiny. Oh, that's good. I mean, at least you're going to be the same height. I've got Naren and Kipik just chilling on my joint, so it's going to be a bit of height discrepancy.
There will be.
Oh, but that's cool. Now we come to the fun part. This is kind of a main reason of why people would choose the class tribe or not choose the tribe. There's the tribal traits, their bonuses and penalties. The Naren were really basic in that they had one. They were the jack of all trades, but I've noticed the Waerd have a lot more to them than the Naren. Sorry.
We do.
So, do you want to start with the bonuses or the penalties?
I actually view them both as bonuses, but we'll go through the official bonuses first.
Okay, go for it.
So I guess I'll start with we'll go with Waerd themselves are forgettable, and which gives them a bonus to disguises and identity and any identities they want to assume, as well as they're forgotten faster. This is due to their homogeneous nature, the fact that every Waerd looks so similar. You could just say you're someone else.
This is a key feature, a trait that you want to have if you're looking at being an assassin. Definitely a useful trait.
It is actually a requirement if you're going to be an assassin for the Waerd.
Unless you want to be challenging.
No, it's actually in their religion and their laws that you do not want to risk bringing any backlash to your family or your settlement.
Right, and that's why they have their faces covered.
Yes, that's why they cover their faces and why they have to be under something that can't be traced back to their name. It's not so much that they can't be found, but it's so that no repercussions can come back to the settlement.
Family, because it's all about the family.
And no assassination can be carried out that isn't sanctioned by the Twofold Queen, essentially.
Which is cool.
I mean, people can go and do it individually, but if it's not sanctioned by the Twofold Queen, then the Waerd themselves do not condone it.
Correct. So,
yes,
it's a nice little trait to have.
Then we have our unisex. Both men and women wear the same clothing because they have almost the same body type. There are slight differences, as you find.
I mean, yeah, the women are slightly shorter.
But that helps as well, so that anyone who plays Waerd can assume any job. It doesn't really matter what gender you start the game as. You'll have the same traits as the other person. You look the same. No one's going to have any sort of they actually can't even be a bias against anything anyway. Which I'm sure people playing CW won't have a bias, but it's not really possible with this with the Waerd.
This is the next one is the one I'm most interested about.
Yes,
the Waerd.
The extended family is a very interesting one, and I quite like it. So, a lot of not all, but a large portion of the family mechanics are extended to your entire settlement, which is the bolstering is active, which I actually will say I don't know what the bolstering trait is.
I don't know either. I looked for it, but I couldn't find any further information in regards to it.
But your family chat, your death sense and tethering are also extended to the settlement. The advantage of this is, so Do you know how the Waerd version of Family Chat works as well?
No, I only discovered about this connected family chat this morning, so I haven't had a chance to delve into it.
The Waerd can instantly communicate messages to anyone in their family.
Wow.
From anywhere.
Is it meant to resemble like a telepathic link?
Pretty much, yes.
Damn.
As far as we're aware, anything you want to share is shared with everyone in the family, which means that it will be shared with your entire settlement.
Oh, yeah.
And the advantage of this as well is, if someone kills a Waerd, like coup de grace, the entire settlement knows.
Ooh, that's not a good idea. You're in trouble.
Yes. Their entire settlement, which is viewed as their family, they know that it's happened.
And they are going to hunt you down.
And if the person happens to see your face before it happens, that can be transmitted off with it.
Mm-hmm. That's so neat.
Yes.
I like that.
So, this comes into one of the ways that the Waerd can assist in war, which we can get to later. But another, I guess, benefit of them is the communal housing. So these are some of the traits that they list as negatives. The next few traits. The game officially lists them as negatives, but I think they're positive. The communal housing. So the idea that Waerd don't require any specific room to procreate. They just go to whatever room is available, including orphanages in the thing here. It's just more efficient, to be really honest. It's
That's definitely the word for it. No love and care are needed.
Yes. You're here to do a job, and that is add more population to the settlement.
Yeah.
And then the communal property. So all Waerd have access to all spaces on a property, and you can't limit access to anyone in the settlement.
So pretty much, if you want to be, if you want to be that dick Waerd who wants to hide all their gold, you can't, because anybody could just stroll on in and just check out your stuff.
Yes.
It's nothing is private.
But you do still own things, and if someone takes something from your house, it is still stealing.
Correct, but they can see it.
Yes, they can see it. But the advantage of this is this plus the Waerd's communal actual abilities help with the fact that while the Nearan have the bonus to the Jack of all trades, they can learn their early skills faster. The Waerd have one of the fastest overall learning speeds because everyone will help.
Correct.
Everyone of a profession will help the new people to learn. And if you even need to do a bit of practice for yourself and you think, well, I want to try out blacksmithing, you can go to the forge that's maybe owned by another Waerd and use some of the tools. As long as you don't break anything, that's completely fine. If you do break anything, you are required to replace whatever you broke.
I think it's so cool in the way of skill building. Like, you don't have to heavily rely on someone else permitting to be taught. Like, you just go in and do it.
Yep.
That's the sense of community, I think, is the best part of the Waerd.
The next one...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. Just to say, it's something that a lot of the other classes just don't have.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the Waerd, everything is about the community. There is a phrase on the original post for them that says, only the Waerd truly matter to the Waerd. That, as much as, I, as a Duke, want to work on the world stage with everyone else, there is still that underlying thing that everyone would understand, that the only thing that really matters to the Waerd is the Waerd, and as the Waerd Duke, that's my main focus.
Yeah, it's going to create, I think, interesting, not necessarily clashes, but interesting power struggles between, the Waerds, as a Duke of the Waerd, but also, being part of a kingdom that isn't about the Waerd, it's about the kingdom. So it's an interesting thing to figure out where your loyalties lie. I mean, obviously it's with the Waerd, but other people might not understand that.
And it's also where, that's where I think understanding politics works into it as well, in that it's in the benefit of the Waerd that I stay on good terms with the rest of Lorvascara.
You don't want to be on negative terms.
So I might do something that may at first be of a slight detriment to the Waerd, but in the long run it's positive.
Correct.
So,
creating balance.
And that's what's going to be a requirement of a lot of people who choose a leadership role in the Waerd. Need to know that they can't isolate themselves. They have to focus and work with everyone else around them as well, or they won't survive.
Yeah. It's more of a juggling act than for your average Waerd.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, continue with your so-called penalties.
Yes. Shadow War. So the Waerd are forbidden by the Twofold Queen to participate in battles, like stage battles. So, do you know much about the Bloodlust mechanic?
No, I don't. You're telling all these mechanics. I have no idea how they work. Do tell me.
Okay. So Bloodlust, if you die on the battlefield, you suffer your death penalty, and then you have a grace period where you can't suffer the penalty again. I think you get that for the most part anywhere you are. So that way someone can't keep camping your body and killing you all the
Oh,
time.
and killing you and just killing you off in one go. Yeah.
Yeah. The Waerd actually do not get that the bloodlust bonus if they're on the battlefield.
Oh.
So every time a Waerd dies in battle, they lose life every single time.
Because to keep it in line with their cultural and religious beliefs.
Yes. So Waerd can enter the battlefields. It's against their religion, therefore the protection of the god is revoked.
Yes, you can do it. It's just probably not going to end well for you.
Yep. So what this means instead is the Waerd assist in wars in other ways. We actually have no soldiers amongst the Waerd. There is no trained soldier. There are no soldier class of the Waerd.
I haven't looked at that.
We have skirmishers.
Oh, right, yes.
So they, as a profession, what they do is they wander the deserts or the settlements, and they train all of the citizens in how to fight. They teach them the basics. Then they just keep moving on. When it comes to war, they band together into small groups, which share the family, and they have that's their family. And then they focus on strike missions, hit and runs, quick assaults, and that's how they fight. So while the Nearans, the Broodveers, the Drass, they're fighting on the battlefields, the Waerd are looking for supply lines. They're looking for other targets outside the harassing flanks.
They've been smart about it.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can to assist the greater battle without entering the greater battle.
Out of curiosity, though, just about those skirmishes. So are they going from settlement to settlement, or just within the settlement they're educating people on the fighting?
The settlement to settlement, they travel around the whole.
So they don't really have like a home in one community. They just flow through the communities?
Yeah, which is why they themselves are it's almost like all the skirmishers are a settlement together. They share a family.
They're their own collective.
Yes.
Gotcha. I'm learning so much today. It's great.
Which is why I personally think that Shadow War is not that bad, because it offers players another fighting style, another play style. The people that like the high stakes stealth missions.
Yeah, rather than the all out stabby.
Because in a band of skirmishers, there is no one in charge. They're all equal, which also means that you can't take out the leader of a band of skirmishers to demoralize them.
Which is smart. Can't cut off the head of the snake. Does not work.
If there's no head. Yep.
Yeah.
And when we talked before about the Waerd's ability to instantly communicate with each other, is the other factor where I can see they can help in wars, is non-combatants can relay information to in-game units as needed.
It's kind of a
rapidly.
Shame almost that their religion doesn't allow them to do open battle, because that'd be so handy.
Yep. They can still be on the battlefield, they just can't fight.
Well, that's true, actually. So scouts.
We can have... they can be out scouting. You have one Waerd in the command tent who can relay orders to the units out in the field, because we can have one Waerd sitting in each of the units, as an example.
How do the Waerd feel about their friendly Neran going to war on their behalf?
I don't think they have a problem with it.
Because you can have the Waerd just being scouts for the Nerans to fight their war for them.
Yep. The only actual negative trait on this list is the next one, which is the dry lung. The Waerd are accustomed to the dry of the desert, and therefore they fatigue faster in humid environments. Basically means if I want to go down to the Genoan rainforest, it's going to be a bad time for us.
Bad times, putting it mildly. But I actually found an interesting thing on our particular server while I was map hunting this morning in regards to this. If you look at all three other servers, there's always a different type of biome in between the semi-arid desert and the tropical sort of biomes. But on ours, it goes directly from the semi-arid desert in Lorviscara down into the tropical wetlands in Capricorn. There's no biome separating them. So if you are a Waerd in Broadfall Rock, you better be careful if you're on the southern border, because you're getting very close to a temperature change and a humidity change down in the tropical wetlands. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's right. They have the steppes.
Yeah.
Over the other servers. We didn't get the steppe biome.
Correct. Yeah, I thought it was really weird. And we don't get the savanna either, the woodland savanna. So yeah, it's interesting that's going to be a quick humidity and dryness change in that one little border.
It will be. And that's why I think on that border, you can see there's a lot more... there's a lot more water down there, to be honest, than there is in other places.
I'm not surprised, given the proximity of the wetlands.
Yep. But there is a lot of Waerd in those border duchies and counties. Yeah. As they've gone down, but no one's gone across the border.
Are we surprised though?
Not really.
Yeah.
We've got the dryads who live in the swamp and the bog, which I guess counts as a moist area as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would count it as moist. But, you know, I guess whatever the game definition is, I don't know.
And then the Terresk, which themselves aren't actually friendly with the Waerd.
That's putting it mildly yet again. We'll speak more on that later. That's a fun topic to get into shortly.
Very good. But yes, those are all their traits.
Character trait-wise, they are considered a willful and focused tribe. And, you know, they pick up their skills quickly, as you mentioned. But it means that they're also very persuasive and highly intuitive. I mean, I don't know if people are going to be playing their character that way, but the NPC Waerd are going to be like that.
Yeah, I mean, being persuasive will definitely help Waerd diplomats to function.
That indeed it would. Wish the Naren were highly persuasive and intuitive. Ah, well. Okay, well, I mean, we were talking about biomes, so let's just continue straight into environment. Would you like to have a chat about that? You've already mentioned the temperature differences, but did you want to elaborate at all between seasons?
Sure. The actual temperatures of the semi-arid desert is very, very similar to, the outback of Australia. Summer, you're looking at very hot during the day, and then temperatures plummet at night. There's actually a reason for this too. Without trees to hold the heat there, it goes away as soon as the sun's gone.
There's science for you. I have never heard that. I love it.
Yep.
Totally makes sense.
That's why areas like Perth can still, or the main cities can still maintain a semblance of temperature because there's a lot more greenery.
Trees, yeah.
They are also further south, but that's why they can hold it a little bit better.
Makes sense.
Same with clouds. Clouds help keep it in too. But if there's not much water, there's not much clouds.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Yes, so that's also the reason why there's so few clouds is there's so limited surface water, which is where we get our water from the underground rivers and aquifers. Basically, it makes surviving desert a lot harder because you have to know where to look for water or you are going to dehydrate.
And it doesn't help with your droughts either.
It does not.
How very Australian.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the biggest effects of the temperature change that they deal with is Waerd actually need to change clothes twice a day. You have your day clothes and you have your night clothes, which is, most people here when you get home you want to put on less stuff than what you've been wearing throughout the day and relax.
This is the opposite.
The Waerd with the Waerd at the end of the night, you're putting on as much as you can to try and stay warm.
Oh, it just seems so backwards to me, but and as well as having those temperature differences, you also have the sand and the windstorms that you've got to put up with down in the semi-arid desert.
Yes,
which is not fun.
Sandstorm is never fun to deal with.
No, but that also adds sort of an item to the clothing that the Waerd have, the shamargs.
Yes,
so you can cover your nose.
Tend to cover most of their body as much as they can. So that's why you have that desert garb of the the very light but long flowing robes. Designed to cover as much of the body as you can, but not trap in the heat to allow you to cool down.
Yeah, very practical.
So
the Waerd.
It both helps block the sun as well as dealing with sand flicking up. The desert, again, much like the Australian desert, has a no small number of poisonous reptiles and insects.
Do you think they were thinking of Australia when they made this?
Well, that's the thing. The actual culture of very community first is also very similar to the Indigenous Australian culture.
It is actually.
There are similarities you can see between the Waerd and the Arabic regions as well. But there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
But the more you delve into it, the more you see how much it fits the actual outback Australian culture as well.
Yeah.
Plus, when you live in a small town, you know everyone and everyone has to look out for each other.
Yeah, well, actually, that is true. In the country towns, it is a higher sense of community than we tend to have on the coast in the cities.
Yes.
So, it's lovely. I like it.
Yes. So along with all the poisonous reptiles and insects, they also have the Nocturnal Hunters.
Yay!
Like bobcats and coyotes.
Because, poison wasn't enough. Now we've got to look out for vicious things with teeth and claws.
Yep. Which does lend itself to the reason why a lot of Waerds sleep grouped together. It helps with the protection. You put it that way you can all be around the fire, which will help both warm you and ward off predators, because a lot of predators are afraid of fire.
Yes.
As well as keeping you together to... A coyote is not going to attack a pack of, say, 20 people. Generally. They're more opportunistic creatures, most predators are, and they know what it looks like a bigger threat. So they look for the lone ones, usually.
And since the Waerd never travel alone, they're thinking smartly, intelligently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's also the kind of in-law reason, or actually, I guess the what's the word? Environmental reason as to why a lot of the Waerd have become so communal, and the lower class of Waerd generally just live in mud huts and caves.
I think a lot of it is yes, because of where they've had to move with over time from their original homeland. It's adapting to this land that has sort of formed the sense of community, as well as the Twofold Queen.
Yes.
But made them who they are.
And everything for the Waerd is about the Twofold Queen.
Well, everything about the Waerd is for the Waerd, but also for the Twofold Queen. Did you want to jump ahead to religion, or did you want to keep going with more basic things?
We can talk about the religion.
Yep.
Religion is the biggest driving force behind what the Waerd do. So the Waerd themselves are followers of the religion, the Altafali, which is following the Twofold Queen. They believe that the world needs to be in balance at all times.
Which is great, you know. You don't want too much bad or too much good. I understand that.
Yep. But it does lead to a kind of skewed perspective. So
yes.
what a Niram would view as good and evil, the Waerd would view as unfavorable and favorable towards balance. What the Waerd define as good and evil is balance and chaos.
Which doesn't necessarily agree with the Neren's view of good or evil.
Yep. Or balance and imbalance. Chaos generally leads to imbalance, but it's balance and unbalance. So too much good to the Waerd is actually an evil, and needs to be balanced out. Which is what I guess kind of leads I know a lot of players are very wary about the Waerd.
I just don't think they're informed enough about the Waerd, or do you mean the ones who are informed?
Little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
It's also because they believe it's their duty to uphold the balance as well. It's not just about the balance within their own area. They actually believe the world needs to be in balance. So when you have people acting in a foreign region that could be against the wishes of said leader, that can cause tension.
Teresk, we're looking at you. I actually want to read a line here that came from the wiki, which probably came from the original page on the Chronicles of Ellyria website, but it's it's just talking about how the Waerd embrace death and that sacrifice is just a part of their balance. And it says, too much prey for people to eat, kill more prey. Not enough prey for people to eat, kill more people. Instead of, promoting prey, you just kill off the people. But that's their idea of balance. If sacrifice is necessary for it, they will do it.
Yep. It's actually believed as well with their religion that the longest night, if it's raging on for too long, it means that there hasn't been enough death to balance out the life in the world, and the Waerd will sacrifice some of their own to appease the Twofold Queen and release the long night.
It's not even just some of their own; they've actually given you an actual figure of the number of sacrifices.
Yes, it's actually been a while since I've seen that figure.
Oh, okay.
But
6.
I think it's 6
sacrifices.
Because it's 6 weeks of, or 6 of our weeks, I think. Is it 6 years of darkness? There's one for each.
No, it's 3 years of darkness.
3 years.
Yeah, so the one leading up, the actual year, the one leading out, and it says 6 sacrifices, 1 per month. So it must be over that pure middle period of that middle year. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. That's per settlement, don't forget. That's 6 sacrifices per settlement. Oh my gosh.
But it is an honour to be chosen.
Yeah, well, don't know if they'll be feeling honoured when they get killed.
That's all right. It doesn't say that have to be Waerd. We have a few Niran in all our settlements.
Wow. I didn't even think of that. I just assumed they had to be Waerd. Oh my god. Oh, so you're going to be promoting tourism in the longest night to try and get the foreigners in? Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. So that period is referred to as the Night of Blood.
Yes.
Which totally makes sense. But what I find interesting about this circumstance is that they don't believe that the longest night is guaranteed to follow the eye. The eye is a meteor, isn't it? Did I get that right? The eye is
that one
a meteor.
I don't know too much on.
It's been a while since I read about it. I'm pretty sure the eye is a yearly, for us in real life, a yearly occurrence where there's a meteor going across the skies. And usually that heralds the coming of the longest night, because shortly following you have your 3 years of full eclipse darkness. But the Waerd believe that just because you have the eye going across the sky doesn't mean that the longest night is going to follow. Because as you said, you know, if they do everything correctly according to the Twofold Queen's will, that the Night of Blood won't occur, the longest night won't occur. But, you know, we know as players that the longest night happens every real life year, regardless of what the Waerd do. But they believe that it won't always happen. If we just do things right, it won't happen. I just find the disconnect.
Maybe we don't actually know that for sure. What if we do everything right and it won't happen?
You know, that would actually be fantastic game mechanic.
I have 10 years to make that work.
Exactly, turning what we know and expect on its head. That'd be really immersive if we could actually do that. Caspian, you wanna take a note?
Well, I think with at least with religion, for most tribes, religion plays a part in their role, but it's everything for the Waerd. They live their whole life by the Twofold Queen.
It's just what it comes down to at the end of the day.
The familiars themselves, that's actually a large portion of their job, is to convey the Twofold Queen's wishes to their subordinates. Are
they the ones looking for signs of the Queen's manifestation in nature? They're the ones doing that?
Yep.
Cool. I just wasn't sure if that was their job, but that makes sense.
Yeah, so they're actually only in four ranks for the Waerd. You have the familiars at the top, the nobility. The set are aristocracy, they run the towns. The told are your gentry, and then the named are the commoners.
So to further elaborate on that one, you actually start as the named, the commoners. That's where you will begin as a child of the Waerd. And then once you renounce all your possessions and contribute your land to the Waerd collective as a general, then you become the told.
Yes. And your name becomes your profession. The example I usually use is if you're a blacksmith in, say, my capital city, Shireen. You are the blacksmith of Shireen. We still maintain our original names, which we use to liaise with foreigners, because they apparently struggle with the idea of calling us blacksmith of Shireen.
That's interesting, though, because I don't know if a lot of players realise that. They're probably like, oh yeah, I'm totally going to be Jack Smith the entire time. But it's like, no, not many people are actually going to use that name, and you still have it. But you're mostly not going to be using it amongst your Waerd community.
It'll only be when you travel outside or have foreigners come in.
Correct.
Which, as we can see from the map, foreigners love the desert, and they will definitely be coming in here.
Not. So the kind of food you guys would eat?
Yes, would be pretty much anything that you could actually grow in the desert, which...
Limited.
Yes, very much so. So that's, I think, the largest portion of our food will come from cultivated meats.
Yeah.
We have wild beasts, sheep, goats, medium to large rodents.
Love that part.
Yep. And then other hunted animals like as desert rodents, reptiles, and mammals. Under food, we have herbs, maize, teperi beans, which is that's our moneymaker right there, the teperi beans.
Is no one else able to grow it because they're not in the desert?
And the Drast love them.
Oh, really?
Yes. Apparently it is their biggest, almost like, delicacy.
Oh, okay. Ew, but
yes.
Sure.
Maybe that's not the word for it. They really like them. They want to eat them all the time.
Delicacy works just fine.
Okay. And then winter wheat and cactuses. So the cactus we don't actually eat. That's for water.
I was about to say, that makes no sense.
Yep.
Okay, no, that does make sense, actually, as a water source. That is handy, because I'm sure you're going to have cacti aplenty.
Yes, we will.
Actually, I don't remember seeing many cacti on the semi-arid desert pictures. Where are my pictures at? Oh, no, I lied. That's totally a cactus. No, we're good. Totally good.
I don't know if I have camels in this game, but camels actually primarily eat cactus.
Oh,
they have a mouth that's actually designed to bypass the spikes, and cactus can't hurt a camel's mouth.
so if
and that's how they get their water.
Right. So if we have camels in the game, they're going to be down your way.
Yep. That's why you find them in the desert usually.
Yeah. Or at the very least, they could probably make an animal substitute for camels in this game.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because horses themselves won't do as well in the desert.
No, the heat will be too much for them. Plus the sand is not going to end well.
Yeah, and, I'd rather feed animals cactus than feed them, precious wheat.
Yeah, that's a good point. Food for thought for a future day.
Plus, apparently we can make cactus silk.
Which, I'm sure that's a commodity of some kind for other people, no?
Our clothing is flax, linen, and cactus silk, so I would assume the silk would use to help make lighter clothing. That's
good for your weather. Yeah, but it can't get better than my Kipik silk.
I take that as a challenge.
You're on. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be doing Kipik silk. Maybe we can trade.
I'm always down to trade with everyone.
Yay! Since you started mentioning clothing, though, I'd like to just say that what I get from the clothing, well, more the armor, I guess, than their normal clothing of the Waerd, is it looks distinctly Ottoman or Persian.
It does, yes.
Which I've always found really cool. I mean, to be fair, that the heavy armor looks a little less Persian, because Persians don't use the heavy chainmail, but the light armor and the medium armor looks very Persian. I love it. Yeah,
and I see the heavy armor and medium armor as very use those when fighting in other countries, because why would you wear that in the desert?
Yeah, would not work.
Light armor definitely works in the desert. I mean, though, you do see people who wear armor in extreme heats for a period,
but not for prolonged periods of time.
You would fatigue pretty quickly, yeah,
and dehydrate. Ugh. But still, I like that. Actually, the Duke of Kilijan, am I getting that right? Because he changed the name of the place. I think it was Kilijan.
He did.
Yeah, he is definitely embracing that Ottoman feel up in the shrublands. Hence the name change, yes. So do you feel that's what you're going to embrace, or are you going to embrace some sort of other vibe down in your desert?
I've been trying to embrace I'm trying to interpret the word themselves and embrace it that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I've been trying to look at them. I've drawn some similarities to real world tribes and cultures and stuff, but I've been trying to, as best I can, imagine the Waerd in the purest form as
in their own right.
Tribe.
Yeah, that they are themselves.
Yep.
That's good, because you can't have any false expectations going into it then.
Exactly. Doesn't mean I'll be right in everything. I've definitely corrected a few things over time.
Yeah.
But
you're the most open-minded with that regard. That's nice. Okay, this is harkening back to something you mentioned very, very, very briefly about... It's about the community, not about you. It actually extends to their clothing and jewelry. So if you'll be sorely disappointed to choose a Waerd if you really, really like lavish clothing and jewelry, because
very much so
they don't have any. Put it simply,
they are even just from a purely practical point of view, they're wasteful. It's unnecessary.
Well, they don't do anything.
Exactly. And the thing is, why would we wear jewelry when we can sell the jewels we mine to other people for food?
Exactly, or water, or some sort of valuable resource.
Exactly.
I can't wait to see the Waerd player wearing gold chains and expensive clothing, because they're going to look so out of place.
That's why it's funny that the Turesk are on one border of the Waerd, at least on the one border of Broadfall Rock, and then the other Turesk are within Lava Sky themselves, when the Turesk are viewed as they're the only true enemy of the Waerd, because they diametrically oppose the Waerd in nearly every way. I mean, they are all about lavishness, which is just complete stark contrast in comparison.
That border is going to be great between the Waerd and the Dress at Broadfall Rock and what is it called? Hexcliff.
Genera.
Yeah. Or either or. They're both. That's way more Turesk. That's going to be fun.
Do you know we have a sister settlement bundle that is in Genera and in Broadfall Rock?
Oh, a what?
Do you know the sister settlements?
Oh, the sister settlements. Really?
Yes.
How?
A Waerd and a Turesk have decided to...
join forces?
Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting step forward.
See if they can break down the barriers. I wish them luck.
Well,
As long as the Terrestres conform to the right way of thinking, it should work.
I can see it's going to go well already. Continuing on to that sort of Ottoman Persian feel that I know you want to be
Yep.
Waerd for Waerd, but, you know, going with that vibe, the housing for the Waerd
Yes.
very much reminds me of, for the upper class. The upper class reminds me of kind of more of a desert feel as well. You're mentioning
yes.
like the Arabian sort of side of things.
Yes, it's very much in that style, because obviously you don't really start getting nicer houses till you reach the higher ranks. But yeah, the actual art style itself, I think we've seen, they've given us some photos too, some images of settlements. We've got some ruins plus some other ones, and there's been a fair few videos actually, which have been nice from the pre-alpha client showing us them. And it's very much the building itself, like they have the flat roofs because they don't need to worry about slanted roofs. There's no rainfall coming down for the most part.
True enough.
Yeah, so you don't need to worry about trying to run the water off in a specific direction. So they don't have the peaked houses like we do. Just the whole theme is very much like that, and most of it should be built into mountains or into rocks essentially.
There's actually a really cool picture in one of their pre-production sketches where it's got all the different buildings, but it's actually got a couple of buildings recessed into the cliff face, and it just looks so cool. Yeah,
that's how most of it should be based on what they'd originally given us.
Yeah, I just picture Petra for some of the more elaborate structures.
Definitely helped by the fact that we have mesas across the desert, which are, for those who haven't encountered mesas, they're basically like a mountain with a peak cut off.
That's a good way of describing them.
Yeah,
I like it. It's gonna look
which
good.
means we can build on that peak, on that flattened point.
How economical of you.
Exactly.
I suppose
Not to mention, good glider launch pads.
Yeah. Good starting point to die.
Well, I mean, people need to die occasionally, right?
Otherwise, exactly. Gotta keep the balance. So if you're just like a poor, lower class Waerd, you're just going to be living in like a cabin or a cave. It's not going to be elaborate.
Yep.
But it will be home.
It will be. For you and for everyone else who wants to walk inside it.
Yeah, actually, that's another thing I find interesting about the fact that you have a capital city. That entire city, capital place, is one settlement. All those people.
It is.
One community. That's insane. That's a lot of people.
It will be. It'll definitely be something to behold. Yeah, 277 minimum.
Wow. At least they're not all going to be PCs.
Yep. But on the flip side, once I've got fortifications on it, I'll have a capital. I'll have a stronghold delving in the middle of the desert.
That's true. It would be. Damn. It's going to be pretty tough to oust you.
It'll be a great place for one of the Waerd's pursuits, which is knowledge and information. Hence, I'm designing the Great Library of Shireen.
Oh, that sounds so pretty. I like libraries.
Yep. Sole purpose is to gather as much knowledge from the world as possible.
That is a great ambition. That's a lot you could do within 10 years. Damn.
So yeah, the Waerd are very much interested in gathering. So it's not just information. Like, information is very useful, and with the Waerd's ability to transport information really quickly, it'll be quite easy to get it back. But knowledge, I think, for me, is one of the biggest things. The more worldly knowledge you have, the better.
Yeah, I mean, the more you know, the more power you have, essentially.
Yep.
Which is great.
I'm a big fan of stories. I think you can learn a lot from stories.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of people having to, I guess, work for what they learn as well. So reading a story is a way of conveying a message without just telling someone outright what it is.
They experience the message.
Yes. So I think stories will be the best way of transporting, of passing on knowledge to other people.
Yeah, which is why authors are perhaps going to be pretty important in this world, I feel. I think they're very underrated at the moment.
And, I guess reading and writing is one of the crafting skills that the Waerd are usually better at.
Yes.
Because, well, there's not many other crafting skills available in the desert. There are a few.
A few, yeah. I mean, depending on the crafting you're talking about, you do have your masonry, your pottery, your stonework.
Yes.
But it's not as good as your reading and writing.
I do like that disguise listed as a crafting.
Oh, you
profession.
do? Okay.
It's just on there. It's disguised as a profession or a crafting skill.
Yeah. I also like that you've got glass blowing. Because you
Yes.
actually get glass down in the desert, don't you?
Because do you know what the top two resources are of the desert?
Well, there's sand.
Sand and stone.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so jealous of your glass. Like, I definitely don't get glass. So that actually would be good for trading.
It will be, definitely.
So I think if you want to be a glass blower as a profession, definitely head towards the semi-arid desert with the Waerd.
Yes, because I think a lot of people are going to need glass. I mean, people use them for so much. You know, spy glasses when you're out in the sea, magnifying glasses to help you read. Anyone who wants to do alchemy, you're gonna need glasses.
You need all your flasks and stuff.
Exactly.
Kind of have mentioned how the Waerd have developed over time, but shall we go for a brief history lesson of where the Waerd came from?
Sure. Because we shared the arid desert with the Erishi, I think they were called.
Erish.
That's the one.
So you shared the cold arid desert.
Yeah. Arid. Yeah, the arid desert was called, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. And over time, because the Waerd were the Erishi as well, which were followers of the Kindred religion originally. But rather than the nomadic lifestyle of the arid desert, they moved into the semi-arid desert so they can make more permanent settlements.
Which is a great ambition. I like it.
Which over time led to them becoming the Waerd.
I would also point out that this is actually why they don't like the Erish. Although the Erish aren't one of your starting tribes, I feel when they come into play, you're going to find that the Waerd and the Erish have very bad relationships with each other, because the Waerd begin to resent the Erish after they started leaving, and the Erish sort of pushed them further and further into the semi-arid desert.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting when it comes into play.
That's right. The Waerd had moved into the hot semi-arid desert originally, and they were pushed out of that into the cold semi-arid desert by the Erish.
Yeah.
Which caused a lot of problems for them. It's a lot harder to function in the cold semi-arid desert than it is the hot. At least the hot, everything was constant. So everything they did was to account for heat. Once they were thrown into the cold semi-arid desert, it was a lot harder to survive. They had to alter themselves drastically.
Yeah.
Which did lead into quite a large war, from memory, between the Erish and the Waerd.
Massive.
Which is a large portion of why the Waerd are not allowed to compete in pitch battles anymore, because of how much of the population were destroyed in the war. It was believed that any wars on that scale, again, would wipe out the tribe beyond repair.
It's a good lesson to learn.
Yes.
But this is what has led them to the twofold queen.
Yep. And why they have such a burning hatred for the Erish.
Burning hatred. I love it.
Yes. while the Teresk may be the what they call the official enemy because of how different they are, I think if given the choice between taking out a Teresk or taking out an Erish, Waerd's going to pick the Erish.
Absolutely, hands down, no question. And they'll be easy to pick off as well, because they're nomadic. They're going to be in small groups.
Yes.
Just, you've got to get to them first, because we're on a completely separate continent. Oddly enough.
Yep. But I will leave that to the people who can actually make boats, because they have wood.
Yes, that's true. That's someone else's problem.
Exactly.
We'll just reap the benefits of it. But during, so post-war with the Erish, that's when, I guess they were approached by the Twofold Queen. They don't really go into much detail about this occurrence. But they just say that they were bid by the Twofold Queen to abandon their kindred religion and follow her, and that she would lead them through the desert to a settlement in the hills and show them, how to access the underground rivers and stuff. And she would continue to aid them so long as they did as she asked and united and became as one.
Which is a task they take literally.
Yeah, really literally.
And that history leads to the biggest difference between the Waerd and the Drass, where they both follow the Twofold Queen. The Drass themselves believe in like in the grey areas. So they believe the world is in shades of grey, and they want to bring the world back to the middle balance. Whereas the Waerd see the world in black and white. Everything they do is black and white. It's like you either are Waerd or you're not. You're either light or you're dark. And the only time chaos is okay is if it counterbalances order.
I just find it so hard to agree with that lifestyle.
Yep.
So it's just personal preference.
So Adras would seek to bring balance by gradually changing things, bringing it through closer and closer to the middle, whereas the Waerd just like, nope,
boom,
just
in,
cut it right here, done, boom.
Problem solved.
So what's that? You've got one arm and your body can't balance properly? Here you go.
At least the second one.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, you could admire their efficiency.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
And that's why, but the rules itself, they do not condone taking life that isn't necessary, that doesn't need to be taken.
It's almost why they need the approval of the Twofold Queen for any assassinations they take place.
Yes.
They need to have the approval for the death.
And it's why, so a lot of people view the Waerd as a very bloody tribe because, I mean, killing is the easiest way to maintain balance, right?
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's always the best way, and as a Duke, I'm going to look for other ways because I do need the Waerd to be able to function on this continent as a whole. Hence, I looked at the Waird's ability to be persuasive. Diplomacy is a great way of achieving balance.
Yep, and you'll need a lot as Duke or as a familiar.
If, where they say not enough prey to feed the people, kill the people, it's like, well, if there's not enough prey to feed the people here, maybe these people have more prey and we can bring it across.
Yes. Kill those people. And you want to negotiate?
Yes.
Like, kill.
Negotiate trade relations with other people. I think the Waerd would be good to facilitate that because they're going to seek for a balanced trade as well. Things that will be of
value to us. Well, the thing is that you're lucky in that you're the only tribe in the semi-arid desert, excluding the Naren. So, like, you have those resources that other people want, and it's impossible for them to have access to it.
Yes.
So it does put you in a superior position in that standpoint for a trade perspective.
That it does. Although, again, yeah, I think the Waerd will be looking at how we can affect trade on the international stage as well.
Sounds like it would be delightfully challenging for you.
It will.
Don't begrudge you that at all.
Because diplomacy is not a skill you can level up in game.
No, it relies on you as a person.
It does.
It's going to be great. It will be an experience. It's one you've chosen for yourself.
It is, and I encourage everyone else who wants to try them out to give it a shot as well.
Yeah, and don't forget, guys, you don't have to be nobility or anything. You can just be your everyday Waerd, and you don't necessarily have to worry about sort of diplomacy or persuasiveness to that extent. You may find another skill you can use as a Waerd that appeals to you more. Yes,
because there are a lot. In fact, and you can travel the world as a Waerd as well, because one of the most common resources the Waerd trade out are people. It's not that we're trading them as slaves, but you trade them under contract. So
educators.
Yes. There are tutors, cartographers, bookmakers, couriers. Basically, we could even trade blacksmiths and leather workers. So if you wanted to, be someone who could travel around a lot, you could potentially play a Waerd, learn a skill, and then be sent across to a Kipik area to teach some people or apply your craft there for a while. Pass on what you know, bring back what you've learnt, go somewhere else. And it's all under.
Yeah, it's agreed upon by the Waerd, and it's just a great way to see the world as well, while still doing your trade. Because a lot of the trades lock you into your settlement and your location because all your stuff is there. But I feel like this definitely opens you up to doing a trade and seeing the world.
But it's important to distinguish the fact that we're trading in people, but they're not slaves. They are free.
Correct. Definitely.
To follow Queen.
Yes, there is definitely a distinction, and it's one we need to make.
Yes.
Okay, well, on a lighter note, if you want to be sort of a bard Waerd, there's some interesting options for you if you like to be part of a group. The solo Waerd artist is probably not going to get you very far.
Because we don't really have music to account for the solo, because the Waerd don't really have instruments either.
Nope.
we go for a cappella singing, letting the reverberations of the cave walls amplify the sound and help, because the reason behind it as well is it helps unify your voices.
Yep.
With the cave walls banding all the music back or the singing back, it blends it all into almost like one voice.
And also just singing with other people, it's enhancing your sense of community. So if you want to be a bard, you know, there's absolutely scope for it, but you're going to find you're better off doing it as part of a group rather than just being a solo artist, so to speak.
Yes.
So
and funnily enough, all Waerd musician groups, their size is multiples of 2 because an odd number is an unbalanced singing group.
Yep.
Is an imbalance.
Oh gosh, it's going to take a while to get used to that.
The Waerd live and breathe balance. Everything about what they do has to be balanced in some way, shape, or form, even down to how they sing.
Gosh, you're going to have to get in the habit of thinking about balance and imbalance.
Yep.
It's an interesting way of looking at the world, I feel.
It is, and that I think has been one of the biggest reasons why I find it hard to properly match the Waerd. Your question at the start, how to match
with the fantasy class, yeah.
The fantasy classes, because of just how ingrained balance is into everything that they do.
Yeah, like there's nothing else I can really compare it to.
I guess you could maybe look at the Taoist monks, because Taoism is very much about balance, but that's
not quite to the same level. It's much more peaceful. A peaceful sort of balance.
It is.
Whereas the Waerd are not quite so peaceful about their balance.
This is true.
Well, hey, on the matter of peaceful, do you know what their most prominent artworks feature?
Very peaceful sceneries.
I mean, maybe to a Waerd, but not to anybody else. Oh gosh. Their art features works of the twofold queen, which is fine, but also of ritual sacrifice.
Yes, very peaceful.
Gotta love that wall painting or that wall carving of your ritual sacrifice.
Yep. Yeah, their artwork is designed to depict happiness and sadness in equal measure. I
don't know whether happiness is in ritual sacrifice, but hey, I'm not Waerd, so maybe I'm not seeing it from the right perspective.
Well, there is sadness in the death being the person dying, yes. But there is happiness in the balance they've just attained by doing so.
This is true. So sad. But happy! Yay! Sacrifice!
But also, it's not always the same piece of work that'll have that. It's more... they tend to want to have... happy and sad artwork in equal measure. Which is going to make for an odd... That's going to be one of the hardest things, I think, for players to get around as well, is looking at that, because we condition ourselves to always look for the happy things and try and push away the sad things so it doesn't bring us down. So playing as a Waerd, you're going to be confronted with a lot of happy and sad things all the time, but in equal measure.
I think it'd be an interesting life lesson at the same time, learning to embrace the sadness.
Yes, and not let a couple of small sad things overpower you when you can see as many happy things.
You start to look for the balance in life. But don't think that all your cave drawings and your beautiful artworks are all going to be ritual sacrifice. You're also going to get your still life drawings, your typical anatomy pictures. I don't mean that how it sounded. Just people in general. But apparently the Waerd are actually great at perception-based work. So all your optical illusions. Apparently they're pretty good at them. So that's going to be interesting from a painting or some sort of artist perspective.
Yeah, that will be... I'll be looking forward to seeing if any players do come through and want to be artists and how they can manage to convey those things.
Yeah, so if you want to be an artist, guys, I mean, a good challenge and skill for you guys will be to head down to the Waerd and focus on that. I think that'd be quite interesting.
I think there are a lot of good art challenges that can come with playing Waerd, which I would like to see people be able to do. I myself am an absolutely horrible artist, therefore I won't be trying it.
Don't worry, it's in game. You're fine. That is skill based.
I don't know. I think I'm pretty sure you they've even said for map drawing you want to have a tablet as ideal as you can to draw the maps.
Yeah, that's true. But cartography is a little more specific in its requirements. But I mean, hey, I mean, if you're good at art, Probably for the best.
But I mean, if there's one thing I've learned from the COE community, there are a lot of good artists here.
Oh, there is. Maybe we should convert them to Waerd.
We should.
Or you should, anyway. I'm not even Waerd. I'm Naren.
No, you can help. I'm not going to stop you.
Oh, boy. So we mentioned that the Waerd avoid open confrontation. So, you know, they're not going to be on the battlefield just shivving each other with swords and stuff. So while they aren't doing that, it doesn't mean that they can't do that physically. They are physically capable of engaging in melee combat.
They are, yes.
And they use some interesting weapons. They use fire flasks and smoke bombs.
We do, yes. Along with usual weapons, we have trained to use extra things. Anything you can use to put your opponent on a disadvantage.
So if you want to be an alchemist of those kinds of offensive potion tools, that's a word, yes, thank you. Head down to the Waerd because they're going to be greatly used down there.
They will. And have you seen the types of weapons we use?
Oh, they look so cool.
Yes, I think they're most likened to a glaive.
I was thinking the same thing. I would have called it a glaive, or maybe some of them could even be like a scythe in a way, kind of, mostly glaive.
It's almost like a guando, but not quite.
Not quite, yeah.
Yeah, the pole goes all the way up, and then the blade comes down the pole.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they deliberately sort of put the two together.
Yeah, it is a unique-ish design, this one. So, again, you can't directly link it to a modern-day weapon. At least I haven't been able to yet.
I'm intrigued about that little needle on the blade. What purpose does it serve? It looks painful.
So, if you go to the way, at least me thinking about it, if you try to hook
from the top blade
around, top blade around, they want to dodge out the way of that, they're going to hit the needle.
Oh, okay, so it's like a backup. Miss column A,
at least
column B.
looking at that, that's how I can see that working.
Okay, I like it. It's very.
Plus, also, you could probably put poison in there.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't put it past them, would I?
I mean, you can put poison in anything if you want, really.
True. But I mean, if they're good at doing all the assassination-y ninja stuff, then it would be great to have poison at the ready.
Yep. Like the artisan quality glass daggers they've had in the store a couple of times.
Yeah, they're definitely useful if you want to be a Waerd fighter or Waerd skirmisher or Waerd assassin. Anybody.
They're a one use, and then you have to rebuild the blade, but they're also an instant kill.
Yes. So if there's someone you really don't like, weapon for you.
Well, no, not if you don't like. If the Twofold Queen doesn't like them.
I apologise. If the Twofold Queen doesn't like them, then you can go.
There we go.
Down those rules.
I mean, you can just try and convince one of your familiars that the Twofold Queen doesn't like them.
I mean, that's true. I mean, if you're persuasive enough, go for it. I mean,
exactly.
There's no reason why you couldn't convince them. Now, I'm just trying to find where my notes are about the great work, because we've kind of... here it is. So we've mentioned bits and pieces about the assassination thing, but we haven't really elaborated on the importance of it to the Waerd.
Yes. So the great work is assassinations, basically. For the Waerd, killing is a duty, not something to take pleasure in, but it is an integral part of our religion and culture, which is why the phrase "all Waerd are capable of killing," it's kind of where it comes from, and it's why our skirmishers train all townspeople in how to fight and how to kill. It's so that way everyone is ready to do so, but we just don't if we don't need to. Sorry, where am I? I actually had some extra notes on this one too. Okay. Yeah. So, and that's what I mentioned earlier about Waerd. Killing is a personal choice. It's not condoned by the collective unless it's approved by the Queen. And also I mentioned before about to prevent dishonouring the family or tribe or being recognised. That's why assassins wear their extra guise.
We've actually got pictures somewhere along the lines. I don't know that I have them on me, but we've got pictures about people covering their faces in disguises. And it looks so cool. There are some really cool stealth-based costumes. So the Waerds are going to be looking pretty sick because they go killing people.
They do. And the Waerd have the philosophy, let them remember the deeds of the Twofold Queen, but not the individual. So the leaders of the the nations, essentially, their job is just to. Everyone has a job, and their job is to look for signs and interpret the Twofold Queen's will. And then the sets who lead the towns, their job is to convey their instructions from their familiars to their citizens.
So it's just like feeding the information and guidance down the chain.
Yes.
On that note, I will also point out that emotion isn't necessarily prized amongst the Waerd.
It is not.
Because emotions can lead to an imbalance, and therefore you may be unable to take action when required in order to complete the great work.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you don't want to be halted by emotions, and you don't want emotions to cloud your judgment.
Yeah, because then you could cause imbalance rather than failing to act on an imbalance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Balance in all things. I'm going to start seeing the world
Yes.
in balance in a second. I don't need balance. I'm Naren. Oh.
All life could do with a bit of balance here and there.
Yeah, that's not wrong. You're not wrong. Okay. Well, we mentioned most of the relations with the other tribes already. So we did mention that the Dras share the religion of the Twofold Queen.
Yep.
And just their similarities and differences in that the Waerd respect how the Dras view their world. That they don't really dislike the way they do it, but it does.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are times where they believe the Dras aren't working fast enough towards balance, but they know that they're working towards balance, and that the actions taken by a Dras ultimately serve the Twofold Queen as well, which is why they can get along. Which is why they get along with them.
Yeah, so they've just got to exhibit a little bit of patience with the Dras, I think, more so than their usual direct nature.
That's why the Dras are the only tribe the Waerd actually like outside of themselves, because you'll notice
Naren, like, loosely.
the Niren are viewed as essential allies.
They serve a purpose more so than the Dras.
So it's not so much that they're friendly with the Niren, it's more that they're more useful to be friendly with than to not be friendly with.
Whereas the Dras is a genuine friendship.
Yes.
Which is good. You know, even though they're for the collective, they're not completely ignoring the rest of the world.
Yep.
It's always nice. And we've mentioned the bad relationships. We did mention the Teresk several times.
I mean, they are the big main one, but there is also the Genoa.
Yeah, which we did not mention.
Yes. Their, I guess, problems with the Genoa not so much. It's not to the same extent as the Teresk, where they seem to just oppose everything that the Waerd stand for.
More or less, yes.
Yes. But the Genoans, it's their hunger for power. They're constantly trying to make themselves better and stronger, and improve themselves, which, is actually not a horrible thing to do.
But it is if you're Waerd.
It does upset the balance,
yes,
as far as the Waerd are concerned.
You're so grabbing for more than you have.
Yeah, the Waerd respect the physical prowess of the Genoa, but they just can't accept their arrogance and hunger for power.
Their need for more. They should just be content with what they have and maintain the balance, but they don't.
Yes.
Do you know what? Just they want it all.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting. Where are the Genoans actually on the borders for us? Oh no, they're
as far south as you can get.
Yeah, okay. I don't see a Genoan conflict with the Waerd. I think it's just going to be more the Teresk border that's going to have the issue.
Which is why I think it's good that the Genoans and the Kipiks are so far apart as well.
Yes, you would have to travel by water to get between the two. It's interesting dynamics, I think, once we get boats happening.
Yes.
Yes. But that's all the points I had. Did you have anything to follow up through with?
Not really. I think we covered pretty much everything about the Waerd.
It was actually a pretty in-depth look into the Waerd. I quite liked it. Okay, I'm putting you on the spot here, but could you possibly sum up in one sentence, or close enough, why people should pick Waerd?
Okay. So I can't just say because they're awesome?
I mean, you could, but specifics are always a little more preferable.
Yes. People should pick Waerd if you want a unique playstyle that you won't find in any other game, and a challenging playstyle. The environment and culture of the Waerd are so harsh and challenging that will make for an interesting game. Basically, if you don't want to play Seaweed Easy Mode, play Waerd.
Love it. Perfect. Okay, guys, that is the end of the Waerd episode. So a big thanks to Ariff for coming and joining us to educate us all, myself included, on the wonders and beauty of the Waerd. Thank you so much, Ariff.
Thank you very much, Mishka.
No worries. So if you guys want to be a Waerd, feel free to join the familiar of Akatash in his homestead. Otherwise, there is also, as I mentioned, the other semi-arid desert place to land and also the shrublands where you can go.